Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to do something interesting. There's no guest because there's been a request from a lot of you, and I'm going to just directly read to you the answer to that request, which is, what supplement should I take? We usually tell people, well, until we understand your genetics, it's hard to tell you exactly what to do because we understand supplementation is not being a supplement per se, but also driving things like gene expression, also managing hormones, also dealing with antioxidants. So it goes far beyond your vitamin C's and D's, as we know. But that being said, if anyone were to go on a regimen without understanding themselves personalized, yeah, there's certainly some things that just need to be done. You may have tuned in last week where we spoke to Dr. Mercola. He's love him or hate him type of guy, depending on what camp you're in. But one thing I can tell you is that when it comes to supplements and the research and study of supplements and sort of the prolific use of them, I don't know anyone that knows more than him. He's been doing this for 4 decades now, before people even understood that they needed supplements. And so I asked him, what do we do? And so there's an article he sent me, and I'm literally going to read it to you. This is something that I don't normally do. I normally ramble on, speak to the camera, speak to guests, but I'm going to directly read from the notes so that it's unfiltered, unedited, and you'll see exactly what the recommendations are. And then I'm going to tell you another answer to a big question is, well, what time and with food and without food, and what's for daytime, what's for evening time. So I'm going to go through all that. Top 20 recommendations that everybody should be doing that won't negatively impact you in terms of some gene pathway, that are, they're fluid for everybody in terms of their benefit. And I'm going to tell you what time, and with food or without food. These are the big questions that we keep getting asked. So I said, hey, let's put an episode aside and just answer it for everyone. So we're going to do that now. So I'm literally going to read directly from this, and I'll comment as we go along if we need to jump in anymore. But first of all, dietary supplements cannot take the place of healthy lifestyle. Let's make sure we understand that. They can be used to boost your health, especially when there's a deficiency. In the US, 57% of adults use supplements, multivitamins, D, omega-3s, the big ones, those are the big ones. In fact, the top three are vitamin D, omega-3, and multivitamins. And another survey actually says it's 86%. It depends where you go. It's somewhere between 60 to 86% are already supplementing, but most people are not doing as much as they need, or they're overdoing it, or they're doing the wrong thing to begin with. So it's safe in general. There's some compounds and things that are not necessarily safe, meaning that you have to need them and you could overdose on them. Something as simple as vitamin D, by the way, you can overdose. That's why it's important to understand your genetics. But we want to help you avoid wasting money, and we want to help you avoid making the wrong choices. We're going to go through this now. Considerations that you may also bring into play that may impact this is your age. Needs are different. Your health status, health goals. Is this me just trying to do a little bit to not be sick, to have a better cold and flu season? Am I an endurance athlete? Am I in my 70s and depleted of mitochondria? So you have to consider things like that. And this is why I'm saying personalization is important, but we're still going to give you a general answer that you can tweak, personalize for yourself. Some important variables, also plants, animals, you have to understand when it comes to pills, even the capsule, a lot of them are made from porcine gelatin, from beef gelatin. A lot of them are now halal, a lot of them are kosher. So you have to understand what you're taking in terms of personal need. A lot of our foods lack the nutrients that we think that are in them. So the sort of, call it, supplement facts of a steak may not necessarily be true anymore based on how things are produced. So you also have to consider that when it comes to supplementation, that our food does not have the nutrient density, the mineral richness, the viability, all of the sort of check marks of consuming what you actually need. For the most part, food doesn't do that for us anymore. So another consideration. So let's get into the list. Number one is probably going to be the biggest curveball from the list, but it's molecular hydrogen. Molecular hydrogen acts as a selective antioxidant, meaning it doesn't indiscriminately suppress free radicals. Rather, it's unique in that it helps your body make its own endogenous antioxidants. This is important because excessive use of antioxidants can be counterproductive, while molecular hydrogen serves as a redox regulator. I'm going to get into a little more detail after I read this. The H2 molecule is the smallest in the universe, which allows it to diffuse through all cell membranes, including the blood-brain barrier, subcellular compartments, and into the mitochondria. According to Tyler LeBaron, the PhD, it's been shown to have therapeutic benefits in more than 170 different animal disease models. While there's no risk of overdosing on molecular hydrogen, intermittent exposure produces the best results. So the key thing, I don't know if you caught it, but this is a unique, call it detox or antioxidant, that has this ability to focus on what you actually need to get rid of. So some people get onto, say like a glutathione or an NAC or some other kind of protocol, and the body, as well as it uses it, it also sometimes misuses it and will bind onto minerals and nutrients and things you actually need. H2 has this really unique brilliance about it. Call it like an AI built into this artificial intelligence, where it knows exactly where to go. It's not spoken of often. It's not an easy find. It's not on every shelf, but it is an awesome antioxidant. And when we talk about antioxidant, what are we saying? Innate cellular health. The cell is not oxidized. It is aging slower, and you all outwardly are also looking as if you're aging slower. Your mitochondria is flourishing. Disease is harder to set in. Viral infections don't thrive. So awesome supplement. It's number 1 on the list. Number 2, vitamin D. Multiple actions on the immune system. It enhances the production of antimicrobial peptides by the immune cells. It reduces damaging inflammatory cytokines and promotes the expression of anti-inflammatory cytokines. Remember, there's both. We did a post about this on Instagram recently, where there's certain cytokines that actually can cause you inflammation, and some can actually support mood and make you feel better. So a recent study found that vitamin D given to people cut the risk of death from severe COVID, meaning the people that were truly sick, by 51%. So that's not a small number. It's not laughable. That's serious. Reduced risk of admission to the intensive care unit by 72%. Vitamin D also plays a role in heart disease. It improves circulation. It's beneficial for blood pressure. In addition, due to its effect on the endothelium, vitamin D may play a role to help improve heart failure, heart attack, vasculopathy, stroke, and diabetes. So it's supportive of the endothelial lining, the inner lining of this blood vessel, which is where heart disease usually sets in. That's where the blood is flowing. All nutrients and all toxins are delivered by the blood to the endothelium, which is potentially inflammatory. Vitamin D mitigates that. You want to optimize through sun exposure, ideally. There's many benefits beyond just vitamin D. It increases your mitochondrial melatonin, and the infrared exposure is also highly beneficial. So if you're looking for your vitamin D, sunlight, first thing in the morning, best thing you can do. Typically, when you're taking supplements, it's hard to get the levels you need without also including sun exposure. Now, there's a very important nuance of that genetically, where the genetic process is threefold. Most micronutrients have one step. Take the supplement, turn it into what you need, and the cell then gets it and uses it. Vitamin D has 3 steps. You first need to derive the D2 from the sun or for your food and convert it into D3. That's step 1, and there's a gene that does that. You then need to transport it from the cell to the cell from the blood where it's actually used. There's another gene that does that. Think of it as this transport system. You then need to bind it at the cell and actually utilize it. So there's these 3 steps, because ancestrally, our ancestors were overexposed, and they needed to mitigate this being outside all day culture, too much sunlight, too much vitamin D. And so the pathway was actually broken up and slowed down. And that's what happens in our body. So it's important to understand what you're measuring in your blood may not be enough of an answer. You also have to understand how do you transport and bind to know what the right dosage is. Dr. Mercola said here that 8,000 to 10,000 daily is likely what we actually need. The daily recommended dose is usually 1,000 if you look at like FDA, Health Canada type guidelines. There's a lot of assumptions in there in terms of our food and activity, etc. And so likely you need more. We do find that when it comes to mood, anxiety, depression in the winter seasons, why do we have the winter blues? Why is there this holiday season malaise? A lot of it has to do with lack of sunlight. And you'll see that there's different profiles in terms of the winter blues in the northeastern states versus California and Texas, where the sunlight is different outcome because of that lack of vitamin D. So when you're taking high doses, you also want to add K2 to avoid complications with excessive calcification. It can calcify your arteries. You also want to take some magnesium, which you should be doing anyway, and ideally take it with some fat. Fat helps it get into your system and metabolize, and you're getting full benefit of it. So, number 3, niacinamide. You probably heard this. People like Dr. Sinclair from Harvard, there's a lot of people touting this as like the one thing that everyone needs to be doing. So NAD plus, as it's also called. What are we talking about here? It's one of the most important biomolecules in your body. It involves the conversion of food to energy, maintaining DNA integrity, and ensuring proper cell function. Together, these functions help protect against or delaying aging and virtually all chronic disease. So we're saying that when you have maintained levels, you're protected against aging itself, if you consider aging to be a disease, which if you look at the way it happens in the mitochondria, it kind of is. The outcome of poor mitochondrial health and cellular degradation is things like cancer and cardiovascular disease and also aging. We just think that we're supposed to age in the way that we do, so we don't consider it a disease. To restore NAD, you need to fix the root cause, which it primarily involves addressing decline in NAD salvage pathway. By increasing enzymes in that pathway which decline with your age, your body can recycle NAD like it did naturally when you were younger. For more information, I'm going to link a study here from a molecular biologist named Nikolai Konlin, PhD. There's a study there that's really cool, so you can read there if you'd like. In addition to optimizing NAD levels, it also blocks lipolysis, which is important if you are more than 99% of the population, or if you're like more than 98%, and you have elevated linoleic acid levels. So if in the last episode, if you listened, Dr. Mercola really pushed on linoleic acid and how important it is to understand. And 99% of the US population is overdosing on linoleic acid, so it's very important for this to be a concern. Niacinamide, like progesterone, inhibits the production of nitric oxide, and also like progesterone, it improves recovery from brain injury. So here are some of the benefits. It can lower stress. It can help with brain injury. It can reduce serotonin formation and or accelerate its elimination. It supports glucose oxidation. It lowers harmful free fatty acids, omega-6s, some of the ones that you're trying to avoid. It supports immune function, reduces lipolysis, inhibits excess nitric oxide formation. It protects against scar formation. It improves mitochondrial function, protects against pathogenic prostaglandins. So there's a lot going on, and the benefits are multifold. You can also lower your triglycerides by being on the right dose. It can prevent cardiovascular diseases. It fuels your metabolic pathways also, so you can get into a better metabolic state. You should start with a low dose. I mean, there's a lot of people talking about taking 1,000 milligrams a day. I wouldn't start there. You start with maybe 50 milligrams and then split it a few times a day. So, 150 total, work your way up to 200, 300, 400. I personally take between 300 to 500, and then you build it up, and you can get to 1,000. You'll see when you get there, you work with a functional medicine practitioner, but you can impair your serotonin longevity, so it can be problematic. So there are people out there toting take your 1,000 a day. If it's the only thing you're doing, and you're also extremely healthy and your body's ready for it, great. But otherwise, the information you're getting out there is in the context of the people who are ready for it. So I would say, again, 50 milligram, a few times a day, and keep going, build it up to 300, 400. Number 4, B complexes. Important for your health because it involves supporting many biological functions: cell health, red blood cells, energy levels, eyesight, brain function, digestion, appetite, nerve function, hormones, cholesterol production, cardiovascular health. They can directly affect your energy levels, your brain function, and your cell metabolism. Vitamin B complexes can support your cell growth or growth of red blood cells, which innately support energy levels, eyesight, brain function. Keep in mind, your eyes are full of mitochondria, number 3 density in the body. So it's very important to support that. When we talk about B complexes, it's important to understand that genetically we can be a little bit more precise. Do I need folic acid? Do I need folinic? Do I need B12 sublingually under the tongue? Or do I swallow it? Do I need adenosyl, methylcobalamin? So that's a question that's hard to answer unless you've had results, which many of you had, and you probably already read your results. You can start with your off-the-shelf B complex and a B12. You should feel a certain relief. You can measure if you don't have a genetic test to see what's happening in your body and levels. But ideally, you want to do this genetically personalized. Magnesium, number 5. We hear this all the time, that everybody should be taking it, which is true. It is necessary for healthy functioning of the cells, especially in your heart, kidneys, and muscles. It is involved in the function of more than 300 enzymes, which most people haven't heard. Low levels can impede cellular metabolic function and deteriorate mitochondrial function, 2 things that you don't want to have happen to you. Depleted mitochondrial function is a root cause of so much disease, aging, cellular degradation. So you want to prevent that. It's also required for the activation in vitamin D. We mentioned that earlier. So if you don't have enough magnesium, you're not getting enough vitamin D, even if you're taking it. Your sun exposure supplementation may be great, but if you don't have the magnesium to activate it, you're not getting enough. So when it comes to oral, my personal preference is 3 and 8, as it appears to be most efficient in penetrating cell membranes, including your mitochondria and blood-brain barrier. It's also absorbed through your skin, and it can be used as a topical solution. Epsom salt has it, a magnesium sulfate. You can have it in your bath. We actually use magnesium bisglycinate also. So it depends how you're taking it, what for. And it's very easy to find information on this online. There's so much content about magnesium out there. But yeah, 3 and 8 bisglycinate, and in your bath you can have sulfate through Epsom salts. So vitamin E. Another one that we don't think about, not understood. What is it even for? Well, I'm going to tell you. It's a fat-soluble antioxidant, very important. It's important for everyone. It limits the production of free radicals and metabolism of omega-6. Now, keep in mind, 99% of us are overdosed for linoleic acid based on our food supply. So you need to counter that by taking vitamin E. This is a contextually based answer. In today's reality, it's something that you need to support the reality of today's food, which is too many seed oils, too much omega-6, and linoleic acid. It inhibits lipolysis, so the release of the stored linoleic acid in your tissues, it prevents that. So the inflammatory outcome of the release is mitigated. So while you exercise or fast to improve your health, the downside is that everyone has too much LA in the linoleic acid in their fat tissues. So the increased lipolysis, when you're burning fat, means increased linoleic acid out into the blood and free radicals and oxidative stress causing damage. So you want vitamin E, especially if you're exercising and fasting, to mitigate the linoleic acid that you're releasing into your body. It's also a potent aromatase inhibitor, meaning it blocks estrogens, specifically blocks the enzyme that converts androgens like testosterone into estrogen, so it slows down that pathway. So you maintain a healthier pool of testosterone while having less estrogen, especially important for the estrogen-dominant women out there. It detoxifies xenoestrogens from synthetic chemicals as well, which is so important, these estrogen mimics, which you don't want in your body. So it's very specifically targets and detoxifies those. Important for men as well. There's too many estrogens in our environment, in our food, which are estrogenizing men. You can clearly see it in our culture today. It's an important thing to maintain the right testosterone levels. It's also an iron chelator. It removes age spots, those liver spots. You can actually put it on scar tissue in your skin to help heal the skin. And we see a lot of skin and cosmetics products are supported with vitamin E and claim vitamin E. It's very important for that. You also need to consider that brain function. There's a really famous study from Dr. Dale Bredesen where he talks about a very particular form of vitamin E called tocotrienol. So tocotrienol, he's actually been able to, this is part of the cocktail, reverse Alzheimer's and dementia in people by using the right cocktail, which includes tocotrienols and vitamin E. You also should consider that the most common form is actually made from a GMO soy, so you want to avoid it. It's synthetic, only has the tocopherol, no tocotrienol in there. You do not want to use that stuff. So take a look at what you're buying. Do not buy the synthetic GMO soy version. You want to buy tocotrienol. Tocotrienol comes from a palm fruit. It's actually an extract from the fruit. Super potent. So although they're called the same thing, they do not do the same thing. Very important to consider. Number 7 is vitamin C. Sounds simple, it's not. First of all, you do not want ascorbic acid, so keep that in mind. It's a powerful antioxidant. There's a very specific gene that metabolizes vitamin C, and we tell people when you have the good version of this gene, lean on that strength. Genes aren't only about what's going wrong. It's also about what do I do well, so I know that I can get supported by this thing that I do well. And some people are doing well with the vitamin C genetics, and so we tell them that if your mitochondria is misfunctional, if you're aging, if you want to deal with oxidation, focus on high-dose vitamin C because you actually utilize it well. So it can reduce chronic disease, protect against immune system deficiencies, cardiovascular disease, prenatal health problems, by the way, very important, eye disease, and even skin wrinkling. It's important for the skin and immune health because it boosts collagen production, helps protect your skin from UV damage. Some research has found that supplementing with vitamin C can actually shorten the duration of a cold and may prevent infections such as tetanus or pneumonia. Very potent. There's two forms. There's that is derived from whole food and is vital. Then there's a synthetic ascorbic acid. best of the synthetic acid would be a liposomal form, if that's what you're taking. It can actually penetrate the cell membranes, especially when it's in large doses. And large is like, there's a daily large, which is like 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams a day. A slow release form is really good. Then there's a clinical large where people are taking 20, 30, 40, 50,000 to deal with things like cancer, COVID type things, mitochondrial dysfunction. So there's a clinical version, which I would not suggest anyone does here without the support of a clinician. When you're dealing with high doses of anything, systems can get disrupted pretty quick, but they can also be a incredible cure for a problem that you're lingering with. So high dose vitamin C, like extreme high dose, has been used clinically to solve major problems, including cancer. Number 8, probiotics. This is something people are doing. You should be eating fermented foods regularly, and that is a potent source of probiotics. That's what our ancestors used to eat. Keep in mind, food didn't last. They didn't have 5 refrigerators and packaged foods and preservatives, so they had to ferment food. And so our guts are designed around the assumption that we're getting fermented food at some point, which comes along with all the probiotics and microbial activity that you need. We don't do that anymore. So the diversity of our gut microbiome is decreasing as a culture and as we age, which is leading to, the physiological symptoms, which are pretty clear. So the average person, for each gram a day of fermented foods, your mortality risk from COVID decreases 35%. There's a study on this. So the average person that is taking 1 gram a day, fermented vegetables, can reduce their COVID risk mortality risk, very clearly, by 35%. The beneficial bacteria can be effective for suppressing colon cancer and for your mental health as well. Keep in mind that the gut and brain are connected. So what you're doing to heal your gut will heal your brain. And fermented foods and probiotics are important for that. There's a randomized controlled trial that demonstrated 1 high-dose probiotic supplement is beneficial for people with depression. We found that there's a neurotransmitter that gets inhibited and helps to induce a state of calm. So, very important again, heal the gut, heal the brain. Probiotics do a lot more than just that. They also can heal disease because your immune system is in your gut. Things like cancer need an immune response to protect you against them. So that's where probiotics are very important. You can get them from foods or you can supplement. Number 9, one of the top 3 used supplements, omega-3 fat, specifically as DHA and EPA. Omega-3 fats are important for brain health and warding off autoimmune disease, very important. They decrease mortality from cardiovascular disease, but also reducing heart attacks and coronary heart disease events. It's one of the most important health screens you should do to understand what's going on in your body. It's an important indicator of heart disease risk and cholesterol levels. So if your omega-3s are off, you know that you're on a path to heart disease. You want to correct that. There's research by the NIH that suggests that omega-3 is a good predictor of overall health and all-cause mortality. The ideal sources are EPA and DHA omega-3s, including cold water fatty fish like wild-caught Alaskan salmon, sardines, herring, and anchovies. If you don't eat fish, then you need to supplement. Krill oil works well. You'll see certain fish oils that come from Norway that are really potent, that have the right ratios, and the fish isn't rancid, doesn't give you that gross fishy burp from like rancid old oil. You want to avoid that. The issue with most fish oils is the chemicals that's used in them. So transesterification, as it's called, transforms the oil into a synthetic product that's far removed from the oil you'll get when you're actually eating a fish. So you want to make sure that what you're buying isn't the highly processed commodity, but a proper high quality form. Any questions, connect with us on that. I can recommend some brands for you also. When you eat fish or a high quality liver oil, the omega-3 is usually a triglyceride form. However, when you eat omega-3s from most fish oil supplements, you get what's called an ethyl ester, which is essentially a synthetic substrate created through microdistillation process of fish oil. And then they use ethanol and industrial alcohol to add to it to complete that mix. The mix is then distilled through heat into a vacuum changer, and it results into a concentrated omega-3 ester acetyl condensate. The problem with this is that they're the least bioavailable form of omega-3. So you're getting these ratios that seem okay, but they don't get into your body. So your body isn't able to metabolize them, or sorry, absorb them. So this is why it's important to be very careful about where you get it from, not the cheap commodities. Eating fish obviously is the best way, but you can tell the concentration. If the fish oil consists of 20 to 30% EPA and DHA, whereas purified fish oil typically contains 60 to 85%, then you're probably buying the wrong stuff. So you want to see these ratios where the EPA and DHA levels are 60 to 85%. Krill oil does a really good job of that. A lot of people recommend it. It's more bioavailable. The ratios you'll see are great. Research also shows krill oil alleviates oxidative stress and iron accumulation. It could be used as a treatment for toxicity caused by iron overload. Number 10, L-glycine. So I personally take it regularly. I know Dr. Mercola, when I talked to him, he told me he takes twice a day, 5 grams twice a day, morning and before bed. It's an amino acid that's important as a methyl group donor. Its methyl groups are found in your DNA, where they play a role in cellular reactions. Glycine helps protect against intercellular calcium overload and hypoxia, as it's called, and has anti-inflammatory effects ultimately. In addition to supporting brain function, supplemental glycine may be useful for the prevention and control of atherosclerosis, heart failure, angiogenesis associated with cancer or retinal disorders, and a range of inflammation-driven symptoms, including metabolic syndrome. Glycine is also a glutathione precursor. What it can do for you? Anti-excitatory, like can calm you down. Anti-serotonin can regulate your mood. Promotes recovery from strokes and seizures. Inhibits tumor formation, so truly tumor fighting and suppressing. Anti-stress. Anti-estrogenic, which is so important. So many women are trying to figure out what they can do for their estrogen dominance. Cell protective. Inhibits lipolysis, so again, the removal or release of toxins from your fat into your blood. Anti-inflammatory, improves learning and memory, and promotes wound healing. Number 11, NAC, N-acetylcysteine. I use it regularly. We put it in our detox protocol. It's very well known to increase glutathione. It reduces toxicity. People even use it for things like hangovers because it's so good at reducing toxicity. Anyone who overdoses from something like acetaminophen, Tylenol, receives a large dose of NAC in the emergency room. It prevents the liver from getting damaged and increases the glutathione level that you need to support that antioxidation and detox. NAC can be combined with glycine, which we just talked about, to get even more benefits. There's a trial with older adults where glycine and NAC were supplemented for 24 weeks, and glutathione deficiency improved multiple measures on their health, including mitochondrial dysfunction, endothelial dysfunction, cognition, exercise capacity, their actual ability to exercise, oxidative stress, insulin resistance, strength, body fat levels, inflammation, genomic damage. They actually looked at damage to the DNA, which is a clear sign of aging, gait speed, so their walk and how healthy their musculature was, brain to muscle signal, and their waist circumference. So this was a study done over a period of 24 weeks, and that was the result when you combine NAC and glycine. Number 12, quercetin, an antioxidant flavanol found in foods such as onions, apples, plums, green tea. It's a natural antiviral. That's why a lot of people are suggesting taking it with COVID and other viruses. It helps drive zinc into the cells to stop viral replication. So the virus can't flourish in your body when you have adequate amounts. It combats inflammation and works as a natural antihistamine. A number of studies shown that quercetin, when used early, also lowers your risk of hospitalization and death from COVID and other viral infections. It improves clinical outcomes. Quercetin is one of the supplements I see should be in everyone's medicine chest. It's a thing that you kind of need when you feel like you're coming down with something. You quickly grab it and take it to support that viral infection being calmed down for the common flu or influenza. It helps, like I said, drive the zinc ions into your cells, which then serves to halt the replication of the virus. Like vitamin E, it also chelates iron, so supports the removal of these metals from your blood. It also increases NAD levels, the supplement we talked about earlier. So it supports higher NAD levels, which is akin to anti-aging and supporting prevention of chronic disease. Number 13, B12. So B12 is important for so many things. If left undetected, people find they have fatigue, they have muscle weakness, intestinal issues, nerve issues, mood disturbances. We've actually seen people cure numbness from having adequate B12. So it can support a lot of things. we look at the genetics to determine what you need, and people aren't taking the right thing. When you go to a store, you're typically getting a methylcobalamin, I'll correct myself, and some people need adenosine. So your genetics will dictate that to you, how well you actually metabolize these various forms. You also need to understand if you actually swallow it or take it sublingual under the tongue. That's also a genetic insight. We can inform what form and what method you actually should take. We're talking about function of the heart, arteries, veins, nervous system, brain, cognition. A lot gets supported with adequate levels, and we find that people that go from suboptimal to optimal all of a sudden feel a certain sense of relief, like they actually feel different. It's one of these notable visceral, like, wow, I feel this relief. There's a little bit more flexibility, more energy, brain is sharper. Very important micronutrient. Number 14, retinol, or vitamin A as it's called. It's a fat-soluble vitamin that's essentially for bodily function, including vision is what we most commonly know of it for, growth of the body, cell division, reproduction, and immunity. Not to be confused with beta-carotene. Even though many nutritional labels conflate the two, they are completely different. Since many aren't able to easily convert beta-carotene to vitamin A, it is important to make sure you're getting retinol, not beta-carotene. Vitamin A is necessary for producing hemoglobin, the protein in your red blood cells that transports oxygen. It is necessary to properly recycle the copper that's available in your mitochondria and transport, for the purpose of energy production. It's necessary for your body to produce two vital important hormones, progesterone and pregnenolone. It has anti-estrogenic properties. It is also helpful for male fertility. So it does a lot more than just the eye health that we talk about it for. That's really the bucket that it speaks to. Yes, it supports that definitely, but it does so much more. Retinol is responsible for making the pigments of your eye retina. It improves your vision and promotes good night vision. It also helps protect against cancer. It also improves skin health and helps against your skin being moist. Retinol is also responsible for making the pigments in your eye's retina. It improves your vision and promotes good night vision. It can help protect against cancer. It can also improve skin health and moisture. It can help reduce the risk of skin and other cancers. 5 to 10,000 IU of retinol and vitamin A is what's suggested if you're using it to sort of support the functions we're talking about. On the bottle, it's probably going to say a little less, but this is what you need if you wanted to drive clinical change. Number 15 is copper. It's an essential mineral that plays a vital role in many bodily functions and includes the production of red blood cells, absorption of iron, and maintenance of nerve cells. Most importantly, it is vital to the proper functioning of your mitochondria so you can generate enough ATP. It's your battery, your store of energy. ATP is life for the cell, so you need copper in order to do that. Copper and its master protein are instrumental for mitochondrial function. They drive copper into the mitochondria, and each mitochondria needs about 50,000 atoms of copper to do its work. We don't have enough in our food. We no longer have copper pipes. We now have PVC. I can tell you that I see kids that have hair going white and have joint pain, and really the only thing they needed was copper. They just don't have enough in their diets. We've seen reversal of these problems and solutions for children that are athletes, for example, that have joint pain, blaming it on their efforts, but it's really just the copper. So really important.
If you want to keep diving deeper with your prescription for life with the Unpilled podcast, make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. I've also written my first book, The DNA Way: Unlock the Secrets of Your Genes to Reverse Disease, Slow Aging, and Achieve Optimal Wellness. It's now available for pre-sale on Amazon. Take a look and enjoy, guys. See you next time.
Next, number 16 is zinc. Another one that is misunderstood. Genetically, we can understand how much you need. Typically, when you buy a bottle of zinc, it's telling you to take 5 milligrams a day. Some people need 5, some people need 10, some people need 15. Depends on what version of the gene you have that metabolizes it, and it's very important to get this right. So zinc plays many roles in your body. It's required for the healthy functioning of your cells, tissues, organs, and bones. It's the second most abundant trace mineral in your body, just under iron. It's found in beef, poultry, shellfish, and mushroom. It's not just an issue for vegetarians, but also for those with gut issues, so GI tract issues, who decrease their ability to absorb zinc. So those who eat seeds, grains, nuts, and legumes that are loaded with phytates, which can bind zinc and also prevent absorption, may be deficient. So important to check. Pregnant and nursing women require higher levels of zinc. and those with excessive alcohol consumption also need extra zinc to metabolize the alcohol. Researchers have found hundreds of ways zinc supports the body. They continue to discover more as we go along. In the last decade alone, there have been tens of thousands of studies investigating the role zinc plays in promoting good health. Zinc provides support for immune function, healthy cell growth, respiratory health, and healthy metabolism. It also supports brain health, healthy function of your taste, smell, and vision. The number 17, we spoke of it earlier in its role in vitamin D, but it also stands alone in its own need. So vitamin K2, it activates a protein which is found in your bones. Without vitamin K2, this and other vitamin K2 dependent proteins remain inactivated. They cannot perform their biological functions. Vitamin K2 also facilitates the transfer process of calcium from your arteries to your bones. Without it, you risk arterial calcification. That increases. It does this by increasing the production of important hormone of bone health. In general, we talk about K2 as anti-calcification and high dose of vitamin D, but as you can see, it's highly related to longitudinal bone health. There's actually a study that found people who consume food with the highest amount of vitamin K2 were less likely to experience severe calcification in their arteries, were less likely to die from heart disease over a 7 to 10 year period. So they tracked them for 10 years, and this is what they found. It works in tandem with vitamin D and magnesium, as we said. There's that triangle of those three that you need to take together. If you have osteoporosis, heart disease, or diabetes, you are likely deficient in vitamin K2. It's most likely the case. Number 18, collagen. So collagen, in addition to being rich in glycine, is well known for its role in skin health, include helping mitigate age-related wrinkles. It also reduces joint pain and stiffness while improving glucose tolerance and high blood pressure. If you use a denatured or unhydrolyzed organic collagen supplement, as it has more balance for the amino acid profile, that's better for you. Or you can boost your collagen intake by making homemade bone broth. Amazing way to get this. Connective tissue from grass-fed, organically raised animals is a great way to make bone broth. It's going to boost your collagen levels and improve all of what we're talking about. Okay, number 19, L-carnosine. Carnosine is a dipeptide. It's composed of 2 amino acids. It's a potent antioxidant, and it binds to lipoxidation end products, as are known, that are the results of oxidized seed oils in your gut, toxic garbage that you don't want. The highest concentrations of carnosine are found in your muscles and your brain. If you're a vegetarian or vegan, you will have lower levels in your muscles. This is one of the reasons why many strict vegans do not properly compensate and end up with nutritional deficiencies that tend to have problems, they lead to problems developing muscle. So this is why vegans tend to struggle unless they're doing everything right in this regard, which some are. You will have a challenge developing muscle. Eating beef is known to efficiently raise carnosine levels in your muscle, which is why you need to be supplementing properly as a vegan or vegetarian. Number 20, and the final one, is methylene blue. You'll probably seen recently biohackers and influencers walking around with a blue tongue saying, hey, I took my methylene blue, becoming this phenomenon because of that imagery of the blue tongue. It supports increased mitochondrial electron transport efficiency and the production of cellular energy, your ATP, that battery. Anyone who's fatigued will benefit almost immediately. You're going to feel it. It's very inexpensive if you don't buy it the wrong way. If you purchase 1 ounce, it will last you 3 years. If you take 20 milligrams a day, which is a solid dose for you to take, you can actually increase that if you'd like also, if you want to take more. The best time to take it is prior to infrared exposure. So if you are in the sauna, for example, if you have sun exposure, so right before that, you take it in, and it's going to support a lot of biological function. Okay, so we've been through the list. I'm now going to tell you, when do you take stuff? This is a big question. And I'll run through the list quickly. You can make note of all this. And we've kind of split it up into 4 quadrants, which is daytime and nighttime, with food and without food. So, what do you take during the day? Firstly, with food. Chlorella. Chlorella is a binder of heavy metals. It removes things from your bloodstream. If you're going to be eating a lot of fish and sushi, you should probably be taking chlorella. Psyllium, so fiber. Krill oil, we talked about that. A multivitamin. Saw palmetto. Curcumin or turmeric, if you're taking that. Vitamin B complexes. Your zinc. your vitamin C, your K2, and your D. These you're taking with food during the day. What you're taking without food during the day: calcium, rhodiola, your probiotics. If you're taking a protein powder or a whey protein, for example, your fermented beets, which support nitric oxide, your L-arginine, ginseng, and grapeseed extracts. At nighttime, with food, you're taking iodine, ubiquinol, vitamin E, fermented garlic, which a lot of people have started taking now, awesome benefits, spores or soil-based microorganisms, liver health supplements like NAC, milk thistle, berberine, PQQ, awesome thing that we could spend more time talking about, digestive enzymes, fermented mushrooms, and fermented chlorella. Chlorella on its own during the day, fermented at night. Without food at night: collagen, magnesium, resveratrol, fermented ginger, apple cider vinegar, and eye health supplements that contain lutein. It's very important that you structure this because, first of all, what is your goal? What do you need? Why are you even taking this stuff? I went through the list of 20. These are things that anybody and everyone can and should take. There's some other stuff that was just mentioned here that's a little more unique. It's important to understand that your full regimen should consider two things. We just went through a list of stuff that everyone should take because our food doesn't deliver enough. So consider that. Here's what I need to take as a daily. And it's not just the multivitamins, the list we talked about. Then what's my health goal? What's my red flag? What's the thing that stands out for me as a problem? And perhaps I need to supplement for that also. Then go back to this discussion we just had around daytime, nighttime, with food, without food, and plan it out. Plan out your day. Don't take everything all at once. Spread it out so that you can, during the day, keep taking things and not overwhelm yourself with 30, 40 pills. Structure it. Get a pill box when you're traveling so it's pre-packed. You don't, like, how do I deal with my 20 bottles? Get a pill pack box so you have your stuff already sorted out day and nighttime. And this stuff becomes habitual to the point where you get frustrated if you don't have it. And the way you're going to feel when you get off of it, the signs are going to be there and you're going to want to take it again. So that's the level of health we want you to achieve, where you feel so good that you forgot what feeling bad is like. And when you actually feel bad, it's bad enough where it reminds you it's time to feel good again. So there you go. That's our show for today, answering the question that everybody kept asking. And we'll see you next time.